What is up guys, Rex here with a new video, and today I want to talk about the Force War update because it's the thing I hate the most at the moment. Why is that the case and what has even happened? Well, DH decided to finally introduce an update to Force War, which was badly needed, and they wanted to improve the game mode in the form that they introduced some more difficult modifiers to the Lair Expedition boss, which I appreciate kinda. And they updated Force Rival a little bit as well. The idea essentially being that they wanted to add a little bit more difficulty to it and reward high power players a little bit by letting them earn more points. Which I think is a good move if you do it correctly. And sadly, have to say they didn't. So how did they address Lair Expedition? Well, you can see I now have a point cleared here of 2200. And that is basically set together by a new higher modifier for the first trait, the one that just decides about the attack and HP of the boss, now goes up to 20, essentially giving this boss 10 times the attack and HP it had before. Then we have all the normal modifiers we used to have before. We have the non-transcendence modifier, everything is as we used to know. And then we get two more modifiers at the end, and those two modifiers increases all enemies, all damage reduction by 42%, absolutely massive, armor by 120%, and the last one increasing all enemies energy by 200 and speed by 500. The later one being fairly interesting because that means all of the enemy units will now do an ult on turn 1, and that actually changes the entire game dynamic, especially for the first boss. Like usually you were used to getting hit with an LFA basic that CC'd like the back row, and now there is an active skill and that all works a little bit different. So the thing is, right now this is the highest difficulty I can clear, 2200, everything but the transcendence modifier. With transcendence modifier would be 2400. I have experimented with it. I can't clear it on like any relevant stage. Any relevant stage meaning it has of course to be higher than 2200. If it's lower than 2200, there is no use in it. So I could just reduce some of the modifier, and when I reduced the all damage modifier just like to 2220 or 2240, I was able to kill the boss, but never really the minions. Maybe with a bit more power and some high RNG attempt, a slight bit, but it is really not possible at the moment. And what that leads to is that the current clear I do looks a little bit like this. Let's try it one single time with the back row block. That was actually unintended, but should work still. Let's just try. I take the PDE in here, and let's just take an SQH as well. Doesn't really matter, let's be honest about it, because that is fairly easy. But first, a word from our sponsor, SonicTopup. SonicTopup offers you all the premium in-game currencies that you can need. If it's Dragon Crystals for AFK Journey or some other currency for another game they offer, you can just join their Discord server, create a ticket, and in the blink of an eye, you will have your currency at the best prices on the market and in the fastest manner possible. So join there today, join the Discord server, tell them Rex sent you, and they will give you an additional $5 gift on top. So that is the current way the boss clear looks, just LFA actually with the Ificarb. I have a flag on PTE and SQH actually, so yeah. They do a ton of damage, actually really do a ton of damage, but not enough to really be a threat to me. I mean, even with the flag, my SQH and PE didn't hit Unbending Will, and we absolutely one-shot this stage. And now you could think, okay, Wraec, you have a super huge LFA. No wonder you were able to do that, but the matter of the fact is, well, it looks the same for the second boss. I don't know if I have a team save here. No, I don't. We can look at it later. The matter of the fact is, many people can do it. In fact, so many people that I am currently ranked 92. And even if we go ahead and we claim my loot that is now accumulated here and we donate that, and we check out my rank again, okay, now it's rank 6, that's pretty good. But you can see, take a look at how close the people are. 140, and we go down, and let's see how far we have to go down to see 138. 138 starting on 25. And then 137, where do we have it? There. Top 50 is all between 140, slightly above, and 138. So within 2,000 points. And really, if we go to top 100, yeah, within 4K points. Not even 4K, it's 3.5K, isn't it? Let's check again. 3.5K? Is it 3.5K? Come on, show me. Okay, it's 4K. It's 4K because the first one has quite a bit of difference to the second place. And all the reason for that is that there is Watchtower RNG. They still have the Watchtower in here. It still gives you random amounts of loot. It still decides over your points. And basically everybody in the top 100, I assume, has cleared those the Warrior Elite Boss and the Major Elite Boss right now, because they are not very difficult. And you don't need the power that I have. You don't need to turn 1 clear. We have cleared this many times on like a turn 3 or 4 or something. And yeah, it is still rather easy. So that brings us a little bit into trouble once again, because the intended use was to like allow the players that now feel like this game was a little bit easy to struggle a little bit to improve their power. And obviously, the H hasn't achieved that. The 10 times increase in HP and the 42% extra all damage reduction and the energy and the speed, which speed, by the way, useless, they had like 9,000 speed or something, have just led to a leaderboard of players that are closer together than ever. Because before we had the situation that all the players could essentially earn the points for Transcendence Hero clears. Transcendence Hero clears are always easy. And then some could clear 1, 2, 3 or 4 bosses, sometimes 5, with non-transcendence heroes. And even that, okay, I mean, like, once the point is reached where players can clear all 5 bosses with non-transcendence heroes, which I did fairly easily last time, I mean, a buff is due, but this buff has just led to every player being pushed together. And now you could say, well, Wraec, but eventually you're going to be able to clear one boss with a non-transcendence hero. Problem being in that regard is that, well, the thing is, that won't really give me a lot of points. We'll still have the same problem with the RNG of the observation tower, not in the ethereal realm, that was a misclick, in the observation tower, the watchtower, and probably won't yield me the points that I need to do that. And to overcome this RNG advantage some players just naturally get. And beyond that, there is a little bit of a problem with all of that. The power that we actually can put towards a hero, like for example Aspen, which I formerly used to clear those stages, is fairly limited. We can go with X upgrade, which doesn't give us enough attack to really do anything. We of course have imprints, we have the Tree of Origin, we have no access to DT on this hero. We have no access to Lifestar on this hero, so the new power mechanics that provided the most massive power boost are actually not available for this guy. We can put a great copy on there, and obviously I use the one that I have on my LFA, but beyond that, we have a 520% attack damage active skill that we have to deal with, and we have to work with that. So that brings us to a little bit of an issue. While they can, in theory, now go ahead and buff Force War one more time, increasing the boss HP by another 100 times or 2000 times or whatever, and introduce 14 more difficulty stages, which, I mean, go ahead. I don't mind. Let's do that. I think that's cool, actually. Just add some extra stats to there. Let's see who can clear what. I think that's a fun way to do it, and I don't mind fighting strong bosses. But the way non-transcendence heroes work and the way those clears work were mostly fueled by, of course, Treasure Train. And Treasure Train is the most recent mechanic that introduces any power to the normal heroes. Formerly, we had Star Spawns and we had Celestial Island, which I think is quite funny, but people forget about that. Like, people forget that this used to be power, and this used to be important. 60 speed, by the way, still kind of mad. Or the Celestial Island galleries. This used to be madness. And I remember that I actually had a big advantage because I went for the skin gallery so hard and I had 170k attack, and people thought, okay, that's a lot. And it doesn't even matter at all today. But now it's really for the Treasure Train. But even if you go ahead and you give us 10 times the attack in Treasure Train, I mean, at one point you are still going to struggle to progress in Force War, because, well, if you 10x the HP of the boss there, you're probably going to have to 10x the attack on Treasure Train that we have too, because that is basically linear scaling at that point, and yeah, a little bit stupid, and it's not going to happen. So if you now drastically buff the Force War bosses, it's pretty likely that Train as a power mechanic is not going to work in amplifying the power of our normal heroes strong enough to actually enable us to clear more stages or any stages in Force War, or max out those bosses in Force War to an extent that allows us to clear, to get more points than a full Transcendence hero clear. And while that is now quite a sentence, I understand, the thing really is we can't get enough power on these guys at one point to do those clears. And I don't hate that. I just think it challenges the concept of Force War no Transcendence hero clears. Because what we essentially now have to recognize is, okay, we're working towards that point, or are already at that point. I can't really say right now. I can't clear it. Maybe in a bit, maybe with a little bit of struggle on one boss. We need more experimenting on this, but we are working towards that point where this is no longer going to be a thing. And then the whole modifier is obsolete. And if you remove that, then the easy step is really to say, okay, we just say goodbye to the no Transcendence hero modifier, because we have essentially said goodbye to non-transcendence heroes on every other game mode already. So what's the point anymore? Essentially, well, what's the point anymore? I like normal heroes, but if you now come to the situation where either you introduce new power mechanics for non-transcendence heroes, or let them passively get buffs from other stuff, just for this one game mode, then I think it's better to just say goodbye to this modifier and just say, okay, we introduce 10 more buffs here, which, by the way, should be unlocked from the beginning. I feel like that is also like, this is the smallest change, but now that they have 20 slots in here, you need like 15 attacks to unlock them on the first day, which is ridiculous. So I think they should do it like all the other bosses. If you come to boss 2 and you unlock everything on boss 1, then you just have all the modifiers here and you can just quickly select them and do your fights. But like that is something probably they should consider as well. But the situation of me like having too much power, or like having so much power that clearing this boss is no longer any issue, combined with a lot of players also being able to clear it, and this mode once again being in the same position it was before. It was essentially the same as before, because before it was all RNG. If you had a certain bit of power, which wasn't close to the maximum power you could get, then it was all just RNG, because you just had to hope that that you got lucky from the watchtower and basically max out your points. And maxing out the points wasn't even too difficult. So I think in that regard, it kind of sucked. It kind of sucked. And now we're back to the same situation. A lot of players will max out all the points on... look at the pings. That is 10x HP and the pings nearly killed the boss. Okay, ridiculous. I was distracted by that because we really nearly killed the boss with pings. Bloody hell. Yeah. And now we're at the same position once again after the buff. So they wouldn't even have to do this. It didn't do anything. I think a lot of people will feel like they made Force War easier. And of course now there are people who never really cleared the top bosses. And I understand that. For you, the new modifiers didn't really change anything. I would still, by the way, encourage, maybe on some bosses, this last modifier that gives them energy might make the situation easier. Because sometimes... it is easier to just get hit by active skills from some of those bosses than it is to get hit by the basics. Not by the first one. I was a little bit more comfort being hit by the active skills here, but being hit by Wraec's active skills, I doubt many people are going to appreciate it. On the second one, this already worked quite fine for me. But yeah, so it is a little bit of a struggle. And it is a grave DH dug for themselves. When people are at the point where they still cannot clear the boss, while other people feel like the boss is super easy, that is of course a gap DH created, and they have to live with that. So I don't see much harm in actually giving us the opportunity to show the power that we have and make use of that, because I could have a tenth of my power and clear this boss, and I think it sucks. I always hated when I played the game mode optimal and find myself on rank 91, rank 92, struggling to fall out of the top 100, and it is still a deep fall when you fall out of the top 100. You drop from 50 lucky treasures for the pink one to 20. I mean, it's not going to matter for a whole lot longer. Let's be real about that. I don't know if you guys have looked at this, but if you are like a fairly consistent competitor on this game mode, and I missed one time, so much for consistency, then this looks kind of like this. Like here we are already at +9. Here I'm only at +4 because, as I said, I missed one season. But like this is like one more season, 2 more seasons, and then this is maxed out, so I don't really need the Starland one anymore. And for Force War, well, it's 3 more seasons, but then this will also be maxed out. And at that point, well, it's kind of no longer that relevant to get the loot. Because it's okay-ish loot, but it's not like super good loot, at least not if you're a whale. I kind of like this force chest a little bit. Which ones was it? Those were decent. But I think they are more suited for the hands of players that have a little bit less progression. They feel like older rewards, where it still was important for, or like for a newer account state, where it still is important to get Stardust, which really isn't for me. Where it is important to get like 33 chests of this and getting like 75k. What is it even? Is it 75k? It's 82,500. 82,500 Stellar. And put this now, I mean, I do the mean thing now, and I put it in the light of the upgrades that I need for the transition temple. And I recently calculated how much I need to get to level 19. And I think I need 47.32 million Stellar. I don't think this game mode is going to bring me anywhere close to that. So yeah, that's another thing. I don't know. How do you guys feel about that? Especially about the bosses right here. That is something that I would wonder. Would you think it's a positive thing if they remove the Watchtower? In my opinion, clearly. Force Rival is one more thing that we can see. We have to discover that a little bit more. They upgraded the points that you can get to 28. And I reckon it's going to be done in a way where they upgraded the highest points that you can get. So like, what usually happened was you could get to like 22 points, I believe it was. And at that point, essentially the damage was capped. And you could get, I think I got 100 times the damage needed for the cap. I think a little more, like 500 times the damage I think I got for the cap, for the max points. And they now upgrade that probably so that that some more divisions are put up on there, so you can get like 28 points in total, which makes the attacks of high damage players or high power players a little bit more impactful in the whole concept. I reckon it's still going to be too limited because I was close to being at E+17 in the game mode, and that was like with the suboptimal team. So I don't know if we could hit E+18. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. But yeah, so it feels like they upgraded it, but not with a look at like what the highest power players can do and maybe give them a little bit of a challenge, but more like, okay, what could probably like 500, 600, 700 players, which is a lot for Alliers. What can those guys achieve? And then we make it so they can just do it from the start. And I think like that's just a very weird way to design it. And I don't know if they checked it out too much. Let's watch another clear of that bloody boss again. And by the way, fun fact, I have fear immunity. Can we do it with 4 heroes? I have fear immunity on my LFA, I noticed recently, and this is kind of nice for this game mode because I can no longer be feared by a LFA, so it's kind of cute. Yeah, this guy did a ton of damage. Probably the Wraec. If I would try to do it again with, ooh, turn 1, look at that. If I tried it again with only the LFA, it would probably fail just because of the Wraec. We can try though. We can try though if you guys want. Let's go ahead, come on. I would have to take a Wraec active and an LFA active on this guy. Oh, that would be hard. Oof. Okay. Come on. Okay. I think that's a good end for the video. Because it's such a nice description or such a nice demonstration of why I think this sucks. Like, I can do this, but I can't do more points. Bloody hell. Madness. Madness. So if you guys like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out our sponsor SonicTopup. And with that, I wish you a great day. We'll see us in the next one.